places like Netflix are showing so many more international films, which also means they hire more international directors, which means those directors get seen in America, then they make films in English, and it becomes a sort of two-way street instead of a one-way street. And so, you're at home. People who never read subtitles before, they go on Netflix and they put the subtitles on. And it's just like, well, that's of course how you watch that movie. But if they want to see a Luca Guadagnino movie, it's not an Italian movie anymore, it's an English language film. And so, and you also have crossover stars. You have someone like Pedro Pascal, you know, just as one. You have Wagner Moura from Brazil, who, you know, was on a series streaming and became known to American audiences. The problem in the whole system is theatrical distribution now is suffering. And so what I think everyone's trying to do is find out how can we get films that are going to be on Netflix get theatrical distribution? Because I think even the younger audience that we're trying to say, you know, beat the algorithm, they're tired of Marvel movies. They're not showing up like they were. They want something cool and fresh. And so we have to find a way to make that experience a communal one, as well as sort of learning about it by streaming.
I just have a quick note off the Netflix discussion, but I remember I don't remember the exact stat off the top of my head, but I think it was something over like 75% of Netflix users reported having watched something with subtitles in like a foreign language in the past year, and I just thought that was awesome when I saw that.
Yeah, and I think a big shift is also the Academy has continued to grow their foreign membership, and then so more foreign films are being nominated for Best Picture, which means more people are watching those films. And it like from Parasite on, I think every year that's increased Americans' appetite for seeing these foreign language pictures.
No, I just wanted to say how quite funny it is for us, well, for me, to hear even the term subtitle cinema, which doesn't exist in France. And I mean, nobody talks about subtitle cinema because we are so getting used for many, many years to watch foreign movies because we can just, how do you say, se contenter de...
We're just happy to have it.
Yes, but on ne peut pas se contenter de regarder que des films français.
Okay. Because you don't want to only have French films.
Yes, we can get restrained to watching French movies, so you know the term subtitle cinema is not a term that exists in France. No, it's just watching cinema. So that's funny for me to even discover it.
Yeah.
Yeah, also, as someone who also an actress, so I feel like performance-wise, if you're performing your own language, it is so much more powerful than performing in English or making an actor speak English when their native language is another, like a native language. And when you watch, so many people watch dub sometimes, and I feel like you watch a film in dub, that is just not the authentic performance, and the same message is just not the same, and that's really important.
I'd love to talk about festivals in this context, and you know, if we're trying to get young people to watch foreign cinema or subtitled cinema, how does a festival play into that? So Bonnie, Malene, and filmmakers, what are your thoughts on that? Like, is it the best avenue for getting that? And because in my mind, I think repertory cinema, community-based year-round, is also another way to get people to see it as opposed to a festival which is once a year perhaps. So what's your experience with that?
It sort of depends on the festival. The festivals that are open to the public, like Toronto, that was a big incubator of international cinema. And, I ran the press office there in the 80s for a couple of years, and one year we did a focus on Latin American cinema, and one year it's Asian cinema, and even when it's not the focus, they have sidebars that have that. And because it's open to the public, and it's like, oh, the party's in town, TIFF's on, it's like people take their vacation at TIFF to see movies and meet filmmakers. And particularly TIFF is one of the most open festivals. It's a very, the public is not roped off from the talent as much as at other festivals. I think when you have festivals that are not public facing, like Cannes, it's all for professionals, you get a different perspective on it because they're worried about, can I sell this movie? Sure. And the US sales agent and the foreign sales agent. And so they're looking at it in a different way. And I think sometimes the public festivals are actually ahead of the curve because they're getting, in fact, short anecdote, Diva, great French movie, flopped in France when it opened, went to Toronto, and sold out house and had an amazing thing. And so the guy who programmed it spoke to the eventual US distributor and said, you've got to see this movie. He goes, if it flopped in France, how can I use it in the US? And he said, well, it's sold out. Well, I have to see if that happens again. So second screening sold out. Finally got the distributor to the third screening, third sellout, bought the movie, stayed in the theater, I think it was at the 68th Street Playhouse in New York, for a year. And it was so successful in the US that they went back and distributed it in France. And it was a huge success in France. So that's what a public-facing festival can do, because audiences showed up, audiences of all ages, all types. And that happens time and time again. The rise of Asian cinema definitely has to do with festival programming, without a doubt. Before that, they were looked down upon. It's a terribly derogative term was used, chopsaki movies. You know, it was all martial arts, and that was it. And it was through festival programmers who understood Asian cinema, bringing it to places like Toronto and Cannes and Sundance and, you know, where have you, and that's how it caught on. So I think it's a key component.
Do the filmmakers or Marlene, do you have any festival thoughts? Yeah, I'm just curious, especially outside of just the public-facing aspect is very key. Is there anything else festivals can do to cultivate a young audience, an audience in the community? I think I was at Movie Maker Magazine, I was going to a lot of festivals, and I would find some of these regional festivals, you go there, and nobody in the town knows this festival's happening. You know what I mean? You like go to the restaurant, they're like, oh, that sounds cool. But then their first instinct is like, that's a film festival, that's highfalutin culture, that's not for me. So how do festivals break through that aspect? You know, Toronto is one of those festivals where, like you said, everyone in the town goes to. There are a lot of those festivals, but not every festival has that energy. So I'm just curious
But
what.
just remember, when it started, Toronto was a small regional festival.
Yeah.
And it grew because of that interest. One of the things I know that you're going to be taking part in Cannes, they do the American Pavilion, which is, it's a package deal where students come over and they not only work at the American Pavilion, but they get to see movies, they get to the panels, they meet filmmakers, they have classes. I've done seminars for them. So that's one thing festivals can do. I think in the smaller regional festivals, a lot of them are starting to work with colleges to attract younger audiences. And I think that, honestly, I think we prejudge and say, people won't be interested in that, and therefore they won't show up.
Yep.
Instead of saying, here it is, and then they show up, and they go, oh wow, what a surprise. You know, if you build it, they will come. It's just about getting the word out.
What were you gonna say? Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was thinking about saying something.
Go for it.
No, I mean, I think it's really true. I mean, to go back to this experience of seeing these students with Nouveau Vague, it's like we're playing this film that is a 1960s period piece, black and white film for students who, are not film students. These are French language students. So this is oftentimes the very first experience for these kids to see this kind of material. And then they come up to the Q&A and they say, beautiful, unique, inspirational. They're asking questions about, we have the actors there. We have Guillaume Marbeck, who is Godard, and we have Zoe Deutsch at these Q&As for these high school students. And they're asking them questions about how they got into acting, how they were able to take on these roles. And I just, the thing that clicks for me is that we don't expect, people treat teenagers like they're children. And when you treat them like they're mature, developing human beings, then they want to rise to the occasion. And they want to show you that they can understand this, they get this. There's nothing that we have to worry about, like, oh, it's too much work for them to read subtitles or yeah.
I mean, yeah, definitely. I agree with that, because I feel like social media is such a big thing now, and people are spreading film festivals through like Instagram and TikTok, and like it used to be such an exclusive thing. Like no one could go to Cannes, no one could go to like Tribeca, but because of social media and like the rise of like people actually just talking about these film festivals and like the actual films that are playing themselves. Now it's not only good for the movies to get press coverage, but also young people are actually encouraged and think of it as like an accessible thing to go. And it's like really incredible that like we're able to just spread like kind of the accessibility of like industry like film festivals that like usually people wouldn't be able to go to, but now we're able to go. Like,
And to Maline's point, I think we treat our like youth like children. I think a big part of that is we treat our adult viewing audience as children too. So of course we're going to treat the young ones even more. To the filmmakers, I'd love to hear your thoughts on young audiences in your films, which both of them have some quote-unquote adult material or just mature material. Like, do you see your films as like accessible to young people? Yeah, what are your opinions?